Hello everybody. For long now, marketing and communication professionals have risen through the ranks to become integral to the decision-making process of organizations as CMOs, CCOs, CDOs or even public policy leads. But what about being independent directors? So today we will find out what are the enablers for Marcom professionals who seek to make it as independent directors to the board of companies, and here is the little context. Did you know that roughly 1,200 potential vacancies are expected for independent directors in the next financial year across listed companies, and the talent pool could be a challenge for companies looking to fill the vacancies, especially for women independent directors. So is there an opportunity here that Marcom professionals could consider tapping? Discussing this with me virtually are two stalwarts. First is Roma Balwani, who was the President Comms at Vedanta and CISO at Mahindra Group. And then in 2015, she was the first serving senior comms executive to become an independent director at John Cockerill India Limited. She has been an independent director for 9 years and is a chairperson of the NRC and CSR board committees. Recently, she was inducted into the advisory board of Team Lease EdTech, and she is currently the pro bono CEO for Indian Deaf Cricket Association. So who better than Roma to tell us what it takes to evolve into an independent director? Thank you, Roma, for joining us today. Our second guest is someone who's passionate about getting the right talent onto boards, Arjun Erry. He is a partner at Hunt Partners, a firm that arranges training programs for aspiring board members, and I too attended one. He has been at Hunt Partners now for close to 2 decades, but prior to this, Arjun was in the software service industry, having worked with SAS, Quad and Oracle. Thanks, Arjun, for joining me today. So let's get started. The first question that I have, Arjun, is for you, that what are the possibilities that you are seeing for comms professionals on boards?
That's a great question, Nandini. In one word, enormous. And if I had to expand on that, I think if we look at the directionality of boards and the massive amount of engagement that boards need to have with stakeholders and the board's own consideration of reputation management, situations leading to crisis management, that's on the reactive side, but on the proactive side, to build a very strong narrative via the board, influencing the management and creating a narrative which points to a very positive interaction that the organization has with the wider stakeholders, not just shareholders, but with the wider stakeholders. That is becoming so essential. And let's also not forget, in this whole business about war for talent, the need to have very strong narrative internally in terms of employee communication. So if you add all of those together, the what needs to be done on a secular ongoing basis, the reactive basis, when you have a crisis, hopefully you don't, but you may, and internal communications, add all of that up. It's a vital scale and a vital domain, and therefore a vital function, and therefore, going back to the earlier point, I see enormous opportunities going forward for comms professionals as directors on boards.
Thanks a lot, Arjun. I think that will be very encouraging. But Roma, what do you feel? And in your experience, what are the opportunities that are there for comms professionals?
I think the opportunities are immense, as mentioned by Arjun, and I see that in my own career. I have seen that the comms profile has completely changed. In the last decade, if you see, the comms profile has become very strategic. It always needs inputs for the board, and also it needs to be guided. So I think both ways, there's a two-way interaction with board members in the organization that they exist right now. And that has been my experience, and that's the exposure I got. And I think that is one vital link that we can always look at as comms professionals that we are going to contribute as well. And that, as Arjun mentioned, there's a wider dimension of responsibilities, roles, profiles. And more importantly, I think the comms professionals have to concentrate and figure out whether this is their ambition, is this their goal at a point in time. And if they look mid-career and start focusing, it can actually ultimately give you a new professional goal as well as propel your career. I think that becomes the sign where you see certain comms professionals looking at this as a segue to their extension of career goals. If that happens, there are many good opportunities that they can look at. There's a big gap to fill, and that gap can be definitely filled by comms professionals. And I think this is the right time. This is a time where there is opportunity. There's also, of course, a need for diversity candidates because of the SEBI guidelines that we have. So comms professionals can look at an extension of their career, which I did in my case. Post-retirement, you have a 10-year tenure look at, and that really gives the organization a mature input in the kind of experience that we bring to the table.
But Roma, tell me we are saying there is an opportunity, and let's say there are comms professionals who feel this is something they want to focus on. How would you suggest that they prepare themselves better to take up a position like this?
See, this is something they have to first create a mindset change. Is this what they're going to look at in terms of career progression post their retirement? Mostly you don't get an opportunity within the organization. But I was fortunate at the organization that I worked. I did come on an executive position because that was a small company. We had to close down that company. So you start learning board proceedings. And if you get that opportunity, nothing like it. That is one way to really look at within your organization. How can you network? How can you show your skills have changed? How can you bring in that business acumen, which makes them feel confident that you are ready to take some kind of a position within the organization, and then you can look at it in a corporate environment much later once you've gained experience. So that's one way to do it. The other way is you are breaking silos. You're looking at networking within your organization. You're creating informal channels with other function heads. That's when you learn from them. And for them, communication is critical. Each one of the function needs you. So you are in a sweet spot over there. And I think once this kind of mutual understanding comes within the leadership and people start understanding why communication is critical today and why this is going to build their brand in the long term, I think then the preparation that any of us can do or have done gives you the right opportunities in the future.
So, Arjun, what would be your suggestions? What do you advise aspiring people who come to your programs on how to prepare themselves?
Absolutely, Nandini. And going back to Roma's earlier point, it all starts with ambition, because if it is something that you don't have a deep-seated desire in your heart and your head, then all the playbook is really not going to get you there. But let's say let's say that switch has gone off or on in this case, on. And you are somebody who's approaching, you're in your executive role right now, and you're thinking about, like Roma said, life after superannuation. Then what's sort of the playbook that an individual should be sort of following to get themselves get themselves invited onto boards. So first of all, an appreciation of corporate governance. I think there's no getting away from that. That's what the board is all about. And an appreciating of corporate governance is juxtaposed with an appreciation of management. Now, we are saying that you are a senior comms officer with whatever title that you have, but that's your management role. And what the board is about is influencing. And that's what we talk about in our director development program. How do you go from management to influencing? Because that's really the role of the board. So getting that architecture of corporate governance is absolutely critical. I think Roma touched upon that. Look for opportunities within your executive role. You don't have to wait till the day after you've retired or superannuated. Look for opportunities within the organization. These could be as as sort of low-lying fruit as trying to get yourself invited to the committee meetings. Take that as a stepping stone to getting invited to the board. Maybe not as a permanent invitee, but at least as a one-off. Lead that to perhaps getting invited to the board as a permanent invitee. Look at, establish your equity as a potential board member, and then look for opportunities within the group where you could become an executive director, or let's say there's a joint venture, a step-down subsidiary, an SPV, where the corporation needs to have nominee directors. Another great way to start, right? So start baby steps. Coming in saying, okay, I'm ready to be an independent director, and this large cap company with 1 lakh crore of market cap is going to invite me as an independent director. I mean, it's good ambition, but might be a little, Don Quixote-ish. And again, like you said, there's some basics that we need to go through. Make sure you get the right training, and let's not forget, you need to also get your independent director data bank number, the IDDB number, and for that you need to do an evaluative test, and that's all controlled by Ministry of Corporate Affairs via the Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs. So that's kind of like the playbook that I would suggest for somebody where, as we said, the switch has gone on.
Right. But how would you suggest that they position themselves when they are trying to look for these opportunities, when they are pitching for such opportunities?
It goes back to sort of the basics, skills and your self-brand. Skills we've sort of talked about during this playbook. I mean, if you follow that, you will build that appreciation of corporate governance. You will be exposed to it. You will have a playbook as to how to manage situations in committees or with boards. So that's the skills part. To your interesting question, I've got all the skills in the world, but I'm like that. I'm like that baseball field in the middle of Indiana, and nobody wants to come and play on this field. And the field of dreams is all very good. Build it and they will come. I have the skills, but nobody's calling me and they're not knocking on the door. Well, it's about your personal brand. And I'd say the ability to network, get your name out there, look for opportunities which are low-lying fruit. Maybe go back to some of your previous organizations where you worked as an executive. Let them know. A lot of times, folks like us who get mandated by companies to appoint independent directors, we don't know if an individual is even keen on it, because post-retirement you can have many different paths, and so get the word out that I'm open for business is sort of a phrase that I would say.
I get that about getting the word out, but tell me, what is it that if they say this is what I bring will actually kind of push them higher on the consideration level?
Clearly, the fact that you've had a stellar executive career, I think, that's sort of the non-negotiable. And be able to demonstrate that I'm not a neophyte. I'm not going to show up on the committee or the board meeting and ask, basic questions. Demonstrate that I've been doing a governance while I've not been in the board myself. It's not a foreign concept to me. I have been closely involved with board situations and board matters, as we were talking about in the previous part of this conversation. Burnish those credentials, riding on top of your very, very strong executive credentials.
Right. And Roma, your suggestion. Go ahead.
And going back to the first point, accentuate the fact that, hey, how is the board looking at risk, looking at crisis, looking at communications? Because that then sort of, shines a light on your domain and your skills.
Right. And Roma, from your experience, what do you think will actually give comms professionals the edge to be considered?
I think in practical terms, Nandini, what we should see that the senior comms professionals have to first empower. They must empower their teams so that the operational work, I always hear, I'm very busy, I've got crisis, I got so many situations to handle, but you also have a team with you. Now, when that team is empowered and you allow them to contribute and allow them that kind of independence, I think you're yourself giving time to ensure that you are honing your skills, your leadership skills. You are giving professional advice in, if not the committee meetings, in the business meetings. Because in the business meetings is a great opportunity for you to really say why strategic communication is an important part of the business goals of the organization and how you're contributing to it. Once you get that position and then you look outside, create your personal brand, and you start, as Arjun said, that look at speaking assignments, look at conversations which are possibly not just your domain, expand that domain. You are saying you're doing communications, yes, but communications is an art for everything. Everything that requires communication. How is it that you're looking at ethics? How is it that you're looking at governance? What is it that you bring to the table as an ESG professional, because you have to use that for brand building? What is it that you're going to bring to the table within the organization on all these kind of skills, which really you're reskilling yourself? You're reskilling yourself, you're getting an opportunity hands-on within your organization. Take it, take that opportunity. Don't just sit back and say, I have to do my part of my function efficiently. Yes, you should, but you have a team. Start empowering them. How many comms professionals, Nandini, tell me, who say that it's me, I have to do everything myself? It's not everything that you do yourself. It's everything that you strategically give direction, and then you're looked upon as a leader. That's what at least I did. And if you see that whole career path which I devised for myself accidentally or whichever way with ambition, I think that was one critical factor that comms professionals should understand. Then they get opportunities within the organization. I was fortunate. Executive education programs are all there in different domains. Please take that up. Don't say that you don't have time for it. Make time, take that up, reskill. You have to have that ambition, clarity. Mid-career is the right time to develop these capabilities, which are very essential at the board level. I think if you start that, when people see you discussing strategy, see you discussing key objectives, that you understand key policies, you're able to act objectively, honestly, efficiently. I think those are very important factors that will lead you up to see yourself as a board member.
But I mean, you've given a lot of things that one could be looking at. But let's say, to be considered by a board, what would you put as the top 2-3 things that a comms professional should be communicating about themselves, that this is what I bring to the table?
So they have expanded their role today. I must say 10 years back, you were just focused on what you called communication or public relations. You're no longer a professional just doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're able to showcase that through your network. One is your informal network and one is social media. I mean, I did that. I did leverage social media. And in the social media space, you're able to demonstrate what are your capabilities. There are people looking out. And you know, Arjun said that. He looks out. He looks out for people with diverse capabilities, skills, leadership qualities. And what is their mindset? How do they, what attitudinal behaviors that they demonstrate publicly? Once you do that, and you are a leader, not just known for communication, you're known for strategic business. Once you're known, that is something you have to change your mindset and behavior. Once you do that, you will then be considered seriously. You will be considered as a person who has got general management skills, and why not bring that skill to the table? In fact, I think we have a better advantage because diversity candidates are looked upon very favorably, and we have so many in the system. Tell me, I mean, we have so many. So of course, the men are as efficient. I should discount that. But I think today women have a great opportunity. Seize that opportunity, but build your personal brand, just like Arjun said. You have to build your personal brand, but you have to build it in a very credible manner. You have to be seen with the kind of right behavior, right kind of business attitudes, and then you're able to contribute to a particular sector. You have to also specialize. You must specialize in a sector that you believe in, that you have the experience, and that you'll bring that experience to the table. Not just communication or not just sustainability or CSR. While they may slot you there, that's an entry point, that's a foot in the door. But you're contributing as an influencer at the board level across the spectrum of board discussions.
No, I think you raised a very good point that understanding business imperatives and being able to communicate that you understand that is probably very, very important. But Roma, in your experience, what kind of companies should one be targeting? What kind of organizations one should be looking at where it will be easier to be considered?
I was very fortunate to attend one of these sessions done by one of the organizations called Aspire for Her. And I learned over there that there is an immense opportunity. I saw entrepreneurs there who had many startups and they were struggling for board members. And they saw that people are not wanting to be board members there because they're still on their growth path, right? And that is a very good opening for any of us to look at because you are contributing for communications and they need that. They forget that they have to build their brand, they have to market their brand. When a comms specialist comes on board, she or he can add immense value there. Again, like I did, I went on to progressing to a social sector. I think the development sector needs a lot of inputs to reposition themselves. NGOs need to reposition themselves. Independent foundations need to reposition themselves. Right. And communication is key to that. And with your leadership ability, with your experience, you are all that onto the table.
Arjun, in your experience, what are the kind of companies one should be considering?
Progressive companies and progressive boards, and hopefully the two are closely aligned. Progressive boards, there is so much of information in the public domain today, which you can of course supplement by making a few calls. But the homework that you can do, simple sort of a smell test. Look at the board of a potential organization that you'd like to be sitting on, and let's do that smell test on cognitive diversity or lack thereof. And if you see a board stuffed with, a certain type of professional services and they're all there, then you can probably get a sense that maybe this is not a door that I should be knocking on, right? Yeah. So let's just start with cognitive diversity. Again, it's all in the public domain. It's not privileged information. You just need to, get onto the right sources to get it. The annual report is a great way to start for listed companies. How about looking at boards that have another smell test is, a board, let me start with perhaps won't be as attractive for you or may not invite you. A board that has a predominance of independent directors who are in their second 5-year term and, probably well into that second 5-year term. This seems to be like perhaps a fairly cozy environment. And here you are, as a first termer, might not be as inviting. So look for a board that has a good balance. We don't want to go on the other side either and say, the board's got to have all first termers. Well, then where's the institutional memory or where's the board memory, right? So we want to have a good mix. In terms of sector, and as we start to go through it, I think we'd see that for comms professionals, with the stuff that we've been talking about and Roma's been talking about, very well put, strategic business leadership skills. Yeah. And how you can demonstrate that and why it's relevant for regulated industries in financial services, for extractive industries, for industries that manufacture, for industries that have a footprint on water or forestry, all of that stuff, highly regulated industries, pharmaceuticals. I think by the time we go through all of that, it'll be very difficult to find a sector and a company operating in a sector that doesn't have a need for very strong domain strategic business leadership, picking from what Roma said, with that domain and that board understanding. So that's how I'd sort of direct individuals in terms of where they want to invest their time.
Let me just say that, Nandini, this was a wonderful event that we have witnessed together. I think it is so relevant for the comms professionals. They will definitely look at this as an opportunity in the future, and they will start looking at honing their skills.
I'm so glad that we've had an opportunity to interact now, and I'm now much the wiser with comms and conversations. And it's a great effort. I had a chance to go back and look at some of the earlier discussions that you've been having. So, great job, and wish you all continued success. Thank you so much, Nandini. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Arjun, Roma, for a very interesting discussion. Marketing and communication professionals definitely stand a very good chance of being considered for board positions. It just requires aligning with business goals, seeing how one can change the game in the organization so that we are in the room where business decisions are being made and get to add value there and to oneself. Basically everything that will lead to a more holistic personal development. That is the only way that we can get to be on board positions. Wish you all the best. Thank you.